Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another big round of applause to Rui Okawa.
Thank you so much.
For those of you who don't know, Rui is an exchange student here from Osaka, and he's staying with the Miyamoto family, studying English at Maui College. And would you like to say a few words?
Thank you so much for inviting to play the ukulele. So I'm super glad. Thank you so much. Mahalo.
Mentor, and now we are so glad that we know him as he is rising on his star to become definitely the Japanese Jake Shimabukuro, the Japanese Rui Okawa. Thank you again for your time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 14th Annual Nisei Veterans Memorial Center Dinner, which features this year's theme, Finding the Hero in Yourself. And isn't that what our swim club members did? My name is Brian Moto, and I am co-emceeing this evening with Deidre Teagarden, Executive Director.
Yes, ご来賓の皆様、こんばんは。今日来ていただいてとても嬉しい。Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have everybody here with us this evening. And it's a real honor to be here next to you, Brian, the second year in a row. So thank you all for supporting and coming out today.
Thank you. You won't hear any Japanese from me. Your presence, ladies and gentlemen, and support mean a great deal to all of us and demonstrate the importance of our mission, which is to ignite human potential by inspiring people to find the hero in themselves through the legacy of the Nisei veterans. Tonight, we celebrate the heroes among us. You will see on your tables stories of Maui veterans who are also 3-year swim club members. Thank you, Melanie, for putting these together. Please take a moment, ladies and gentlemen, to read these little cards on your tables. One of the jobs of the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center is to perpetuate and honor the legacy of our Nisei veterans, for without them, we would not be here.
Yes, and as a result, we started some new programs in 2017 at the center, including the Our Heroes quarterly speaker series and panel discussions. A big mahalo to the Maui News, one of our newest partners, for partnering on the Our Heroes column every other week in the Sunday Maui News. We like to focus on a World War II veteran and then also a current day hero as well. So the Maui News allows us to do that. We also, this is the 75th anniversary, as many of you know, of the 100th Battalion. So this year we've had an extensive 2-part exhibit. Thank you, Melanie, Kyle, and David for making that happen. So we're currently in part 2 of the exhibit, but these men did so much, and it's such a Maui and Hawaii story. We've done it in 2 parts. We have a lot of new partnerships this year as well, including with Barnes & Noble, the Japanese Cultural Society of Maui, the JCCH, Japanese Cultural Center of Honolulu, the Sugar Museum. We actually have part of our 100th exhibit down at the Sugar Museum right now. Thank you, Rosalind Lightfoot. And our Nobler Selves curriculum is currently being piloted at the Carden Academy. Thank you, Carden Academy. I know you are out there. There you are. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yay, Carden Academy.
And we have a much stronger partnership with our high schools. Thank you, Ramona Ho, Kamehameha Schools, for our wonderful interns who do our summer projects with us. We'll hear a little bit more about that later. And next year is the 75th anniversary of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, and we are working right now with Stacy Hayashi, who just did the movie Go for Broke, and we're hoping to have the Maui premiere here in spring to kick off our exhibit. So a lot of things that are going on at the center, and we couldn't do it without you, so thank you very much.
We could not offer these programs to the public if it weren't for the support we receive from each of you. And this time we'd like to recognize some special people who are with us this evening. First, let me begin with our distinguished guests. Speaker Emeritus Joseph Suki and his wife Frances. Council Member Yukile Sugimura and her husband Tak. State Representative Kyle Yamashita. Thank you. Former Mayor Charmaine Tavares. And of course, our keynote speaker, Ms. Julie Checkoway.
Yay! We would also like to thank our inspiration level sponsors, Alexander and Baldwin, our Izumi Brothers, Central Pacific Bank, HouseMart, Munikio Haraga, Peter Galvin, MD, the Maui News, and TJ's Warehouse. Thank you very much.
We also thank and recognize our remembrance level sponsors, First Hawaiian Bank, Glen Goya, Goodfellow Brothers Incorporated, Hale Mahaolu, Matson, Maui Sons and Daughters of the Nisei Veterans, Maui Oil Company, Napa United Auto Parts, Pukalani Superette, and Puro Water Specialty Company, and Say Designs.
A lot of people, that's a good thing. It's good that list is growing from year to year. It's good that it takes a long time to read it.
Yes, I'm at Pukalani Superette every morning.
Love Pukalani Superette. I love TJ's. I love them all. I read the Maui News every day. Okay, the script will get way too long if we start doing that. I'd also like to recognize our wonderful board of directors and our team at the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center, starting with our board president, our fearless board president, Brian Moto. Scott Sakakihara, Paul Mizoguchi, Burl Bao, Glenn Goya, Peter Galpin, Peter Hanano, our newest member, Grant Nakama, Seidin Ota, Hideo Kawahara, David Fukuda, although he has retired from the board, in our hearts he is still a board member. He will never be gone from us. Nelson Okamura, Yukile Sugimura, Rin Yamafuji, President Emeritus Hiroshi Arizumi, and Director Emeritus Leonard Oka. Please give them all a round of applause. And of course, our wonderful staff, Melanie Agrabante, who is actually like 10 people all rolled into one.
And an event like this takes a lot of volunteers and dedicated people. A great thank you to our event co-chairs, Burl Bao and Catherine Kitty Yee. And I also want to mention the members of Alpha Delta Kappa Sorority, Gamma Chapter. Also thanks to Zeke Kulua, our sound person, Troy Hashimoto, our videographer, Shane Teagarden, photography.
I know him.
Yes. Say Designs and her team, that team put together the invitations and the program. And our Hero Awards Steering Committee, many thanks to Royce Fukuroku, Ashley Takitani Lehi, Christine Shimizu, Lisa Shitamoto, Grant Nakama, and Seidin Ota.
Thank you. Of course, only one of them is here tonight. I think that the idea of having to pick these winners for the recipients for our Hero Awards was so much they all had to go on vacation. So we thank Grant for being here. Anyway, thank you very much. And a big mahalo to our 2017 Chrysanthemum Court. You were all, as you came in, recognized by the lovely court and their escorts. I'm going to read their names. We have Soka Furumoto from St. Anthony High School. Her escort is Kaylee Pereira from Kincaid County Gay. And her parents are Wesley and Lori Furumoto. Thank you for being here this evening. Followed by Christy Echeverry from Maui High School. Her escort is Kavika Fernandez from Maui High. And Christy's parents are Lucky and Laura Echeverry. Michaelin Tadeo from Kinke Kaolike High School. Her escort is John Williamson from Kamehameha Schools. And she is the daughter of Bobby Joe Moniz Tadeo and Ricardo Tadeo Jr. Thank you for being here this evening. We also have Jaylin Nobriga from Kamehameha Maui High School. She is here with her escort, Logan Cabanella Arikayos from Kamehameha, and her parents are Jay and Wendy Nobriga. And last but not least, we have Paige Nagahama from Seabury High School. Her escort is Kai Iuma Nakaaki from UH Maui College, and she is the daughter of Hank Raposa and Paula Deep. Let's give all of them a big round of applause.
This evening is dedicated to our heroes. We are here tonight because of the courage, valor, and perseverance of our Nisei veterans. And one of those veterans is here tonight, Mr. Hiroshi Arizumi. If you will allow me to say a few words about his very distinguished achievements, Hiroshi Arizumi is one of the great examples of what it means to be a hero in war and in peace. He is President Emeritus of the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center and one of its founders. He's a past president of the Maui HA Veterans Incorporated, a past president of the 442nd Veterans Club, and a past director of Concha Preschool. Indeed, the preschool building is named after him and his late wife, Edna. As a boy, Hiroshi went to work at the age of 12 after the 8th grade to help support his 7 brothers and 3 sisters. He took up carpentry at the age of 15 and for fun surfed with his buddies. As a soldier in World War II, he served in the 232nd Engineer Combat Company of the 442nd Regiment. Through rain and snow and often under sniper fire, Hiroshi and his fellow engineers felled trees and built roads through mountains and over gullies for tanks, trucks, and infantry. His company removed mines and blockades, fought the enemy, and captured prisoners. They suffered many casualties. For this gallantry, his unit was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation. Whatever money Hiroshi earned in the Army, he sent back home to help his family. And when he returned to Hawaii, he was determined that the men who died or were wounded in battle should never be forgotten, so he committed himself to many veterans organizations and activities. In 1952, Hiroshi and his brother Mitsuo founded Arizumi Brothers, which became Maui's largest home builder during the 1960s and into the 1980s. The company built more than 2,000 homes, almost 1/10 of the single-family housing inventory at the time. His company was also among the first to be unionized because Hiroshi and his brother believed in the welfare of all people. In retirement, Hiroshi continued to volunteer many hours and resources to various causes, all while maintaining a kula farm and growing persimmon, protea, and cherry morio. Ladies and gentlemen, a great man of Maui, Hiroshi Arizumi.
You know, it's so wonderful working at the center because every now and then we'll get a visit from Mr. Arizumi, and it just makes the entire day, week, month, year, all that more special. So we thank him very much. Thank you so much. And for this year's event, as you all know, we are celebrating the 3-year swim club. And we are so thrilled to have a few of the family members of the 3-year swim club members here with us tonight, as well as one of the youngest members of the club. So what I'd like to do is we'd like to invite them up to the stage. We'd also like to call up our board member, Glenn Goya, to help deliver lay. And also we'd like to have Julie Checkoway come up as well, so we can do just have everybody see who these people are all at once before it gets too crazy this evening. So please help me welcome original swim club member Joyce Horikawa, otherwise known as Kimiko Higa. Where is there she is. Gary Mukai, Kim Mukai Otani, and Zane Mukai. They are the children of swim club member Shiro Mukai. If you could come up to the stage. And Pauline Chang and Lee Matsui, the children of Fujiko Fuji Katsutani and Zook Matsui. Let's have everybody come up to the stage at their leisure, along with Miss Julie. We just met Joyce the other day. She came into the office as we were unpacking boxes of Julie's book. And how wonderful it is to have everybody here. Okay. All right, so we'd like to get a nice photo off of this. How would you like everyone to stand? Just
getting tight. And come forward, guys. Come forward. Come forward. Yeah. Please come forward. Please come forward. There you go, right there. Okay. Here we are. Right here, guys.
I appreciate the families coming forward. We didn't tell them ahead of time that we were going to do this. But, this is one of the very rare, maybe the only time, when even a small gathering can be put together and assembled about such a famous and important story of Maui's history, Maui's legacy. We very much appreciate the presence of these people here tonight. The Nisei Veterans Memorial Center is all about sharing the stories and the legacy of the Nisei veterans with the next generation. The young man I am about to introduce is a senior at Kamehameha Schools, and we had the great pleasure of hosting him at the center as he worked on his senior project. He is a shining example of the next generation of leaders. And to share some thoughts on his time at the center, please help me welcome John Koa Williamson.
Good evening, everyone. Like you said, my name is John Koa Williamson, and I got an email from Deidre asking if I would like to share my time at the Nisei Center as an intern. So when I got the email, I immediately didn't respond because I didn't know what to talk about. But overall, my time at the Nisei Center was really, really fun because on the first day, they let me go through all the veterans' files. And it was really cool because I got to see the stories of all the veterans that were there and touch the things that they touched. And it was really cool to me because they're so open to having high school students come in, and they trusted us to go through the stories and learn about these veterans in a hands-on experience. And that's something you don't get anywhere else. So with my time there, I met a lot of cool people. I met Kyle, along with Deidre and Melanie. And these are such great people, and we are so fortunate to have them working for us. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me.
So what John didn't tell you is that on his first day, he was able to go through all the boxes. Melanie was putting together the 100th exhibit. And so he was tasked with finding medals and Purple Hearts. And he had a visit from Bill Tavares one day, and he got to talk story. And as we think about that next generation of leaders, and we want to perpetuate these stories and the legacy and the values, and we think, is anyone going to be interested? They are. We have such a wonderful relationship with Kamehameha Schools, and we can all be very, very happy to know that the future is in good hands with people like John and the other interns that we had. So again, thank you so much to John, who also just got up here kind of on the spur of the moment and spoke with us. We thank you very, very much. All right, so I guess now it is time for the wonderful dinner here at the Maui Beach Hotel. And at this point, I'd like to ask Brian to share an invocation.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you bless us with the examples set by great men and women, heroes in war and in peace. And you gather us together on happy occasions such as this one, where we can be inspired by their example and in turn help inspire others. We thank you for all those who labor in our cause, support our veterans, and serve as examples of service. We now join together in saying, bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts which we're about to receive from thy bounty. Amen.
Thank you, Brian. As we wait for the Maui Beach staff to come around to our tables, we just want to remind you that we have a silent auction. Did you do that because I said silent, right? So we have a great silent auction, and we have to say a big mahalo to the Murata Okeen family. On the back of your program, you'll see that we have many items from the artist Emi Fukuzawa. And they graciously, the Murata Okeen family, graciously donated these items to us. And it's items that Emi herself had collected over the years. There is one item that she designed. It is the lacquer purse, which comes along with a book of her artwork. But please take a look. You will never find these items anywhere. So we thank the Murata Okeen family. And also our Chrysanthemum Court and the Escorts are selling opportunities to win 1,000 miles on Hawaiian Airlines. 100,000, yes. 100,000, that even better. For you, we're going to do 100,000. So 100,000 miles, anywhere Hawaiian Air flies, $250 cash, and then 2 tickets to the Maui premiere of Go for Broke sometime in spring 2018. And then Mr. Mukai, Gary Mukai, came in today and had a beautiful box of these gorgeous Tahitian pearl earrings, Shane. And we're going to add that as a second special package for which you can buy the flags. So the flags are $20. It's a donation to the center, and those are the wonderful items that you can get. The Tahitian pearl earrings are just beautiful. We thank Hawaiian Airlines and Paul Mizuguchi for donating 100,000 miles on Hawaiian Airlines, and the cash prize as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your dinner. Enjoy the silent auction and each other's company. We will see you back here at 7:30 approximately. Ladies and gentlemen, the clock says 7:30. It is now 7:30. The silent auction is closing. The silent auction is closed.
Yay.
Thank you for all of your bids. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of the many generous people who provided donations for the silent auction and for the flag drawing.
So as people get back into their seats, I hope everybody got some good things. Oh, we also wanted to let you know if you are a silent auction winner, if you are winning, your winning bid will be brought to your table. So you can make your payments with credit card, check, or cash at the cashier's table in the back, but your items will be brought to your table, courtesy of Diane Morikasa and her wonderful silent auction volunteers.
Okay, big job for Diane and the volunteers.
Yes, we can.
Yes. And good luck as they gather together all the sheets and figure out who owes what, because they're supposed to come to you and tell you how much you owe.
All right.
And now, our Executive Director, Deidre T. Garland, will introduce our guest speaker.
So as it states in your program, Julie Checkoway is an author, a documentary filmmaker. She is a graduate of Harvard, the Iowa Writers Workshop, and the Johns Hopkins Writing Seminars. And she is also the recipient of a National Endowment for the Arts Individual Artist Grant. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times and the Salt Lake Tribune, where she was a staff writer. Her book, The 3-Year Swim Club, was long listed for the Penn ESPN Award for Best Sports Writing and won the International Swimming Hall of Fame's Buck Dawson Award. Basically, Julie Checkoway is brilliant and amazing, but what the bio doesn't tell you is how charming and lovely she is. It has just been such a wonderful experience working with her for tonight. When I first started at the center, people would come in all the time asking for the 3-Year Swim Club. I thought, oh, what is this 3-Year Swim Club? And of course, we had a copy in our library, and I read it. I fell in love with history. I fell in love with all of the characters, all these wonderful men and women in her book, and subsequently just fell in love with her research and her humility and her graciousness. It is such an honor to introduce Julie Checkoway. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you to Deidre. Can you hear me pretty well? We're going to work on that before we start. I am absolutely thrilled and honored to be here tonight. Can you hear me in the far back as well? Yes, good. I first want to thank Brian Moto and Deidre and Melanie Agravante and the board and staff of the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center for inviting me to be here with you tonight, and to the sponsors of the organization, all of the folks and attendees, all of you attendees who have made tonight possible, and also a special welcome and thank you to the swim families who are here in their dual roles as somehow connected to World War II and to the 100th and 442nd, and also to the kind of amazing and unbelievable story of the 3-Year Swim Club that came from this incredible place, of which you are a part. I thought I would begin my remarks by answering a question that people always ask me, and even at dinner, people said, like, well, here's the question, how did you end up telling this story? Which meaning, how did you, Howley woman, and I get it, like, how did you, parentheses, Howley woman, from the mainland, like way far away, Massachusetts to start with, living in Salt Lake City, Jewish, never been to Japan, spent a little time in Hawaii, never on Maui, ever. Okay, what the heck were you thinking? And how did you come to this story? And what right well, the right thing we're going to talk about. Who did you think you were? And, there's several questions embedded in that. There are lots of ways of answering the question. How did I come to be interested in the story of the 3-Year Swim Club? How I came to write about it, what I came to love about it, and what I have to say about it to share with you tonight, to give it back to you in this community. It is your story. It is the story of your community. And I've been privileged to be able to research it and work on it and engage with it and get to know people. But my aim in being here tonight is to return that story to you. It is not mine. So in telling my story of how I came to it, I hope it's another way of handing it back to you. So how did a haole woman from New England, who'd spent very little time in Hawaii at all, none on Maui, doesn't speak Pidgin very well, end up researching and writing a story like this? So there are lots of ways of understanding it. One would be to talk about this politically. There's a whole issue of cultural appropriation. How could I come and tell this story? So there's a way of talking about my engagement with this story as a political moment. There are ways of talking about this in terms of history. Who has the right to tell these stories and the privilege that I had and took in telling that story. But I want to share the personal pieces with you of what the story meant to me and why I engaged so intensely with it for so many years. It starts with kind of a funny story. I'm a writer by trade. I've been a writer since I was a little kid. I've written several books, not all very good. And they're all different. They've all been very different. And a writer's always on the lookout for a great story. Always. We're just hungry for them because that's what our lives are. We're just always looking for the next story to hear, the next story to tell, the best story to tell. And that's what was going on for me in 2008. I was working at the Salt Lake Tribune as a staff writer in between doing larger projects. And I had just finished making a documentary film. I'd never made a documentary film before. It was kind of a dumb thing to do. But I did it with my brother, and it was a really interesting experience. However, in making that film, I learned something really important, and that is be very careful about whom you choose as your subject to spend 8 years of your life with when you're writing a book or making a film. Because the fellow about whom I was making the film wasn't the best citizen. He wasn't the nicest, kindest person in the world. He was not much of a hero. He was kind of a narcissist. He was unpleasant to be around, and I would say largely disabled in terms of his morality. 8 years with him was a lot of time to spend, with someone who is not so pleasant. It's like bad dating extended, So it was one long bad date for 8 years. So as a writer, when you're moving on to the next story, you're thinking, I can do better this time. I have standards. I'll look for a better partner. Maybe he can dance. But I clearly did not want to spend time with someone who was so self-involved. I was looking to try to tell a story that possibly had something to do with an intersection of personal story and something that happened in American history where someone or someones had made a difference in the lives of others, where they had devoted themselves to something of meaning and through possibly civic action had made change. Now that's a tall order, but I felt those stories were possibly findable. In truth, finding those stories are a little bit harder than they sound. I went through all different iterations of other things to write about, and I won't go through them. But one day I was sitting at my desk at the Salt Lake Tribune when a phone call came in, and someone said to me, I heard the story about something that happened on Maui in the 1930s. I'm like, okay. And she explained the details, and she said, this happened, and the kids, and they were in the ditch, and they swam, and the coach, he didn't know how to swim, really, and then they went to the Olympics. Do you think it's true? And I was just dumbstruck. And I said to this person, I said, if that story is true, I want everything to do with it. I want to know everything about it. And why hasn't it been told before? Because it's so darn good. What is the story? So it really was also just tremendous intellectual curiosity, tremendous, I had to know how something like that could be true. Think about it. Kids on a plantation in abject poverty in Maui in the 30s, Japanese American, Filipino, going nowhere in the closed circuit of the plantation world. No real sights for them but to live again on the plantation, to work as their parents did. And they were given this opportunity, tremendous opportunity, which they could take or blow. In the case of some kids, they blew it. But a lot of the kids engaged so intensely in this with a coach who believed in them. And they went on ridiculously, impossibly, unbelievably, through hard work, over only 3 years to become Olympic swimmers. Now, they didn't go to the Olympics in 1940, but for me, that didn't matter. They were Olympians. This was what struck me as so outrageous. What in the rest of the world, when you look out today and you think about stories, you think about what you hear on the news, do you ever hear a story like this anymore? You don't. I don't think you do. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So I was so taken by this because it was so outlandish. It was so mythical. And in fact, there was a lot of legend to the story, and there was a lot of work in trying to get past the legend and down into the facts, to talk to people, the children of the swimmers, to talk to the swimmers themselves. I came to Hawaii and I spent time, as much time as I could, and as much time as people would allow me to spend with them in their homes, talking story and listening and hearing people tell the details over and over again, and then asking, can you tell me a little bit more? Can you drop to a deeper level? And what did it feel like in the ditch when you were swimming? Oh, no one ever asked me that. So it was this process of slowly unpeeling the layers of detail and finding such richness. The other piece was putting together all of the things that people had collected over the years but were about to throw out. So I was fortunate in visiting with the kind families, including the Matsue's, that everyone handed to me with great generosity, a stranger, a haole woman who had no reason to be doing this, bags of things, boxes of things, say, oh, you take this back to the mainland, give it back to me later. It's, to a stranger. That generosity blew my mind. I would say to my husband, I don't understand why these people are doing this. Why would they trust me? I don't get it. And I just kept wide-eyed and I kept saying, are you sure you want me to take this? Are you sure it's okay for me to write about this? And I was struck again and again by the kindness. Now, I know there were times when people were thinking, I know what people were thinking, like she's going to really mess it up. And I continued to ask for the forgiveness of people like Lee Matsue, the families of all the families, the Hiroshi, Hiroshi, Kiyonakama, the Tsukano family. I would say to them, I'm going to mess it up. Please forgive me in advance. And that's something I say in the book. But I was determined, now that I was entrusted with this material, to try to do it some service, to the extent that I, in my limited way, could do that as an outsider. So I discovered, as you discover in reading the book or learning the story, that it was truly remarkable. I discovered in writing the book that the writing of it wasn't the only thing that was so, what's the word? I knew that the writing of it would be enriching. I knew that the writing of it and researching of it would be rewarding. But what I didn't know, and that's what I really want to share this evening, is the power that the story, once outside of my purview, inside a book and out into the world, could have. Because the story has a currency, not for me, but for others, and it makes meaning when it's out of my hands and into the world. And I wanted to explain that a little bit. I didn't expect people would show up tonight. I want to take a picture for my kids. I always forget that there's a visceral response to this story because it is really striking. It's a story of great human fortitude and devotedness and stubbornness and bullheadedness and bushido and lots of things. And citizenship, it is just, it's just kind of unbelievable that this man who himself didn't really know how to swim well, could do a kind of side stroke, survival swimming, taught these kids how to swim so well that they were the most elite swimmers in the world. But more than that, what he did for them was to give them social and economic mobility, a way up and out of the plantation system, and a way into a life that their parents always wanted for them. So that was really striking. They had a future beyond the island. This was before the GI Bill, because the GI Bill, as you know, was another way up and out. But the 3-year swim club preceded that as your ticket out. That's what he had in mind. What he had done was nothing less than heroic, Soichi Sakamoto. And I found that experience, as I said, breathtaking and moving. And I was humbled by the stories. What I didn't anticipate, again, was that once the story was out, crazily wonderful and magical things would happen. For example, one, the common thing that would happen is people would send me corrections, which I'm very grateful for. I get a lot of corrections. Maybe some of you have sent them to me. Keep them coming. I made a lot of mistakes in the book, so I would get corrections about facts, about dates, and other things. That has always been helpful. With regard, on the aside, to the diacritical marks and how they're all missing, I'll just say this. I had put them in and my editor took them out. That's a long story. It's a bitter story. So it is a fault of the book, but I'd like to say it's not totally my fault. But it is really egregious, and I agree. But the more important stuff that happened was that out in the world, people began to really talk about this story, really talk about it. The International Swimming Hall of Fame began to look at Soichi Sakamoto and realize that the kinds of things that he did were outrageously important, innovative, that no one had done them before and no one had acknowledged him for doing it. They had inducted him into the International Swimming Hall of Fame, but they didn't know why. They didn't know that he invented interval training, even after they inducted him. They didn't know that he invented weight training. They didn't know that he pioneered stroke training. No one was teaching that. So all of a sudden, all these mucky mucks in the swimming world are like, oh, okay, that's where that came from. It was just a really wonderful moment and the writing of history. There was another great moment that was very meaningful to me, and that was, I shared this with Deidre, and I think she put it in the newsletter. There's a moment when the Smithsonian called me, who gets a call from the Smithsonian? I'm like, really? So the Smithsonian, this is the Smithsonian calling you. And okay, they had read the book, and they were calling from the National Portrait Gallery. And they said, we realize, having read the book, that Soichi Sakamoto was a really important guy. And we want to put his portrait in the National Portrait Gallery, alongside of George Washington, John F. Kennedy, Betsy Ross, and whoever else. I know. So I lost it when that happened, because I never, ever expected that as a result of just diving deep into something that made me so happy, that something like that would happen, that he would be put into the right context in history, both in swimming history and American history. The mission of the National Portrait Gallery is to acquire and display portraits of men and women who have made a significant contribution to the history, development, and culture of the people of the United States. That's what he did. They get it. Now they get it. That was incredibly profound. That alone was profound. I also got many letters from some of you. Letters not with corrections, but with, wow, I didn't know that. You taught me that about my dad. I had no idea. And began correspondence with some people. I have a lot of correspondence going with people on the island. And that to me is very moving, that there were just moments of enlightenment and pleasure that other people could have from reading it, even if they weren't central characters in the book. Oh, my dad swam with Coach, or I swam with Coach in the 60s, or I swam, and then it was like that too. And we used the redwood boards, and just that kind of enthusiasm and reignition of the love of him and the pleasure of speaking of him in that experience. Not that he wasn't tough. The other thing that's really remarkable, and it's very tender to share, and that is that a certain kind of healing has remarkably come about as a result of the book being out. I speak very tenderly of it because it's a very, very beautiful thing. When Coach Sakamoto passed away in 1997, there was no love between the family, the Sakamoto family, and the community of swimmers. And you can see why if you read the book. And that's because Coach Sakamoto spent more time with his swimmers, swimming ohana, than he did with his own family. And there was great, great resentment on the part of the family. They were very hurt because their father was a father to so many others, but not to them. It's a tender part that I didn't really address in the book for a number of reasons. But when the book came out, a few things happened. So when Sakamoto died, on the occasion of his death, the family had held a memorial service in Honolulu, and they didn't invite the swimmers. And the swimmers had to have their own event, separate and apart from the family, and never the twain should meet. It was tragic. And so one of the most amazing things I'm watching happen is the beginning of a really warm and gentle and sweet dialogue between the remaining members of the Sakamoto family and the swimmers who remain, and the children of those swimmers. People coming together to say, it wasn't the way we expected it to be. He wasn't exactly what we thought he was, but he was something to you, and he was something to me, and he was something. And each person can hold on to something. So that more than anything, by bringing this story to light, I could never have imagined that a familial moment or a community moment would have occurred. That was not my intention. That's the side effect of having dived down into the work and brought it up to the surface and given it away. That's the surprise. That's the power of storytelling. That's the power of stories. That's why we tell stories. They have a reparative and benevolent function. They're not all just diverting. If we can focus on stories that matter, like the stories at the center is preserving about the vets, then we have a possibility of doing reparations of a kind we can't even imagine before we do them. Believe in what you're doing. Believe that the work you're doing through the center, the ways that you're supporting the center, the work you do every day as a staff member at the center, as a board member at the center, all of that is not for naught. Some days you'll say to yourself, it's just the past. Why should we? People are such naysayers about the past. Today, we live in a culture where people speak of the past with broad brushstrokes. That was then. This is now. Why does it matter to have the details? Because the details, the hat that's in the box at the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center, the bullets that are in the case at the center, all of these things bring to life real people as they lived their real lives. As we get to see them in their complexity, we can forgive ourselves. We can forgive them by knowing them more deeply. By knowing their father more deeply, the Sakamoto children, learning the things they did, that he did for the swimmers, that made them forgive him more. By knowing the side of what the family suffered, it made the swimmers see how lucky they had been and how much they had to do themselves to make reparations to the family. You can't get that unless you have the detail. So what I wanted to say tonight, very much so, is that people ask, so how did you come to this story? I wanted to reveal that, yes, I'm Jewish. I was raised as a Jewish woman, but I'm not religious. Not at all. I'm not observant, religious, believing. But there was a piece of culture that was given to me as someone growing up Jewish. And I don't know if you know the term, but it's called tikkun olam. And tikkun olam is the notion, it literally means to repair the world. And it's believed in Judaism that it's the purpose of every person to, in his or her lifetime, do acts of good that in some way leave the world behind better, at least less messy, a little more seamless, and slightly less rent or ruined than the way you found it. You don't have a lot of power and a lot of things, but if you can do a teeny bit of good, that is what tikkun olam is. That's even what Sakamoto did. In doing these small acts, he made tremendous difference in the lives of others. My writing the book is smaller because what I'm doing is merely telling his story. What I want to do is encourage you to remember that these stories that you're preserving are important, that they incite the imagination of the young who need to hear these stories. There's a professor emeritus at Stanford University named Philip Zimbardo. You may be familiar with him from a very, very notorious experiment he did in the 1970s called the Stanford Prison Experiment. It's a horrible experiment. He took students and he put some in the form of guards and he turned others into the form of prisoners. And within a very short time in the basement of a building at Stanford, they turned into horrible people with each other. Horrible people. So horrible that they had to stop the experiment. It's a legendary experiment. What Zimbardo found, he said, God, it's not that there are just evil people out there, it's that ordinary people can do extraordinary evil. Ordinary people under extraordinary circumstances can do great evil. We have to take a look at what creates those conditions. So that led to his thinking over the years about a lot of things. What he came to in the past 10 years was to create something called the Heroic Imagination Project. He started to look at what makes people do good, what incites and cultivates in children and in all of us good acts, good behavior, heroic behavior. If we can create conditions where people behave with the banality of evil, certainly we could also create the conditions for the banality of good. Banality of evil in the sense of Hannah Arendt, the philosopher. I find him to be very persuasive in this. His argument essentially is that the way that you cultivate heroic imagination in kids and in all of us is to do two things. The first is to cultivate in children what he calls a discontinuity detector. Discontinuity detector. To be able to look at the world and see where things don't fit. One of these things is not like the other, Sesame Street moment, but to the max. Where is their discontinuity? Where is their unequalness? Where are things not fitting? That's where there are moments for social justice. That's where social justice needs to happen. That's where you need to pay attention. Where is their discontinuity? Who's not getting lunch? Who's not getting taken care of by, who's getting shot by the police? Whatever it is, look at what's happening that's in some way not making sense because it's discontinuous across populations. That's a lot of what Sakamoto did himself. By looking at the discontinuity in the lives of the children, he saw the injustice, and he encouraged in them to be heroically imaginative. Zimbardo of Stanford says the second thing you need beside a discontinuity detector to notice those places where things don't fit, they don't seem right, you need to have a heroic imagination. Hence, he calls his project the Heroic Imagination Project. And the Heroic Imagination Project is really simple. It involves telling again and again and again the stories of heroes. It's that simple. Telling them often, telling them in as many settings as you can, celebrating heroism. Because in his experience and in some of his lab work, he's finding that the more familiar you are with heroic stories, the more likely you are to behave heroically should an incident come about that would call for you to do so. That you are more likely to behave heroically if you're familiar with heroic stories. It's as simple as that. So what he encourages us to do, I have 2 children, is to look at stories, and even stories where there are anti-heroes, to talk with your kids about, well, what makes a person make that kind of choice? Why did so-and-so do it that way? What makes a person make that brave choice? What was going through his or her mind? Even looking at video games, something as simple and as common as video games. We can take a look at the characters in those and talk with kids about the story and who's behaving heroically or what happened in it, to begin to have this dialogue and discourse around noble behavior. Noble behavior. We live in a time that I find, now that I'm finished with writing the 3-Year Swim Club, I find it kind of a dark time. Coarseness, meanness, and bullying, from the national to the international scene, from the street to the classroom, have become, unfortunately, not only expected, but to a great extent, the new normal. We hear this a lot, but for me, it's really striking. And I think one of the answers to this is to do what Zimbardo suggests. And I want to applaud all of you here tonight for doing just that, for supporting the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center, which is itself celebrating and treasuring heroic work. You are continuing to propagate for another generation heroic imagination. Only by doing so do you make it even possible for heroism to continue in the generations that follow. I salute you, I honor you, and I thank you for your work, and I thank you for your listening tonight. Great work. Keep on doing it.
I don't think we could have said it better ourselves. Thank you so much for your beautiful words and for those wonderful lessons that you shared and for writing your book and for coming here and for sharing the story. Thank you very much on behalf of all of us in this room. Another round of applause. Which leads us, it's a beautiful segue into our Hero Awards. At a luncheon in 1952, at a Club 100 veterans meeting, they adopted the motto for continuing service. Having served their nation in war, the veterans sought to continue the tradition of service to their communities, state, and country. On every island, veterans engaged their communities, making the islands a better place for all. On Maui, for continuing service, was one of the inspirations for building the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center as a living memorial to provide service to the community in perpetuity.
Last year, to help recognize the positive impact of Maui's best, the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center established the Hero Awards to recognize those current-day heroes for their continuing service to their community. Tonight, we honor 4 Maui individuals in the areas of courage, philanthropy, legacy, and leadership. I'm going to call upon now Kyoko Kimura, Paul Misoguchi, and Peter Hanano to please assist us here on stage as we present these awards. Board members, would you please come up to the stage at this time?
I also see Grant Nakama.
Oh,
You're still
yes,
here.
you're still here.
Please come. Grant had to maybe leave early, but now he doesn't, so we'd like to call him up. Because he was on the committee. He had the really tough job of being on this committee.
Grant was a committee chair. Our first award is the Courage Award. The Nisei veterans courageously dealt with the horrors of war. Then upon their return, worked intently and tirelessly to reduce the suffering of others. The Courage Award is a tribute to people in Maui County, the Maui community, who use their position, influence, and personal sacrifice to help others through tough times. We are honored to present the 2017 Courage Award, which is sponsored by Alexander and Baldwin, to Mr. Roy Katsuda of Halimaha'olu. Mr. Katsuda was unable to join us this evening. He is in Japan. And but to accept his award is Mr. Grant Chan, a good friend.
So, just to let everybody know, Roy Katsuda has served as the director of Halimaha'olu since 1982, and the organization has seen so many leaps and bounds over the years. And as Roy retires, Grant Chun is going to be the new director of Halimaha'olu. So we know it's just going to get better and better and better. So say a few words, Grant Chun.
Thank you, Deidre. Thank you, Brian. Good evening, everyone. I consider it an honor to receive this very special award on behalf of Roy Katsuda. Some of you may be aware that Roy's youngest son, Leighton, just had a son of his own. So that's where Roy is. Roy and Betty are in Japan, visiting and getting acquainted with their new grandson. Roy Katsuda has been a pillar of our community for decades now, and I believe that he deserves our recognition and appreciation for his years of exemplary service to our community. What he and his team have been able to achieve at Halimaha'olu is truly unprecedented in the state of Hawaii. There is no other housing provider in our state that has met with the kind of growth and success that Halimaha'olu has achieved under Roy's leadership. And for that, I hope that Roy knows that he has made all of us extremely proud and that we are extremely grateful. On a personal note, I have long looked up to Roy as an inspiration and a mentor. And while I actually never dreamed I'd be taking this particular career path, I guess I should also thank Roy for giving me this opportunity to find a hero in myself. He is truly a leader who deserves this honor, and I feel the sense of honor that I will be able to follow in his footsteps to do what I can to contribute to our community into the future. So I vow to work hard to honor Roy's legacy as we move forward. On behalf of Roy Katsuda, thank you very much. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. This is actually for Roy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Our next award is the Philanthropy Award. The generous yet quiet style of the Nisei generation often meant that their philanthropic needs stayed out of the spotlight. This award brings attention to those in our community who are quietly and selflessly working to benefit all of Maui. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2017 Philanthropy Award, this year sponsored by Pacific Pipe, is awarded to Ms. Kathy Collins.
As Kathy makes her way up to the stage, Kathy has been a friend to the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center for years, taking part in Akaku's broadcasts of our speaker series and other exhibits. You will often see her column highlighting things that we are doing at the center. She regularly lends her comedic and storytelling talent to various nonprofit organizations as a popular MC. Even her day job is philanthropic, serving as a program specialist for Maui County's Department of Human Concerns. Ms. Kathy Collins.
Thank you, Deidre. Thank you to all of you. This probably comes as a surprise, but I'm pretty much speechless right now. Deidre doesn't believe me. This is truly a humbling moment for me because I consider myself just a really, really lucky Maui girl. I wasn't born here because my dad was in school at the time when I was born in Chicago. But as soon as he graduated from dental school, my parents and I moved back to Maui. I was not quite 3 years old. So I still consider myself raised on Maui, even though I'm a kodong. And you know, that's really all I do. I am blessed to be able to take part in so many activities with so many wonderful groups here in this community. I am a product of Maui, and I'm so blessed to be able to do what I love what I do, which is talk a whole lot at a whole bunch of different community events. When Deidre informed me about this award, I was speechless then, wasn't I?
Yes, you were.
I was. And I all I can say is thank you so very much. Thank you.
Let's do a group photo before we let her down off the stage.
Our next award is the Legacy Award. While the Nisei veterans were most recognized for their achievements during wartime, they did not let World War II define their entire lives. Instead, they continued to work for the betterment of their community and their family, and they established a legacy of civilian service. This Legacy Award recognizes individuals who have dedicated their lives to improving our Maui community. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome and congratulate Mr. Warren Shimabukuro to the stage as he accepts the 2017 Legacy Award, which is sponsored by Maui Land and Pineapple Company.
As Mr. Warren makes his way to the stage, Warren Shimabukuro has been a tremendous advocate and volunteer for baseball and Japanese cultural activities on Maui. He is the longtime caretaker of Iron Maihara Baseball Stadium and has helped organize Maui AJA Baseball for over 40 years. He served as the AJA Maui president from 1991 to 1998, and he has also been a scorekeeper for the Maui Interscholastic League and Hawaii Winter League. The Legacy Award is a new award for 2017, and we couldn't think of a better man to whom to present it. Congratulations. Take your time.
Aloha. My family and I would like to express our greatest appreciation for the Nisei organization to honor me tonight. I also want to thank everyone present here tonight to honor me. Three weeks ago, Grand Nakama called me to inform me that the Maui Nisei will be honoring me on the November 17 at Maui Beach Hotel for many years for community service. I stopped for a while and tell myself, another award for me, which will be the 10th one in my life. And I told at that time I won't be able to attend the function because I was planning to go to see the state high school football championship at Aloha Stadium. Grant told me if someone can accept the award for me, he informed me to let him know 1 week before the function. I told my son, and he told me to go and accept the award because it will be more meaningful for me than someone else to accept for me. I think about that my son mentioned, so I called Joe Balangitao, the junior, the Maui executive director, that I will not attend the high school football game. But he told me to go because to the function because the game will be on Saturday. So I can fly to Honolulu again because the games are played on Saturday. That's why I'm here tonight. At this time, I want to inform a little history of myself with many years of community service. I got involved with youth program, Little League, Mustang League, Bronco League, and Pony League. For adult program played in our stadium, Maui AGA League, Open League, high school games, including preseason tournament, state high school baseball tournament year 2000, 2003, 2006, 2009, 2013, and 2016. College UH vs. Hilo Series, Japan College vs. Maui Series, Japan High School Maui Series, professional team Stingrays for 5 years, Ikaika for 4 years. I was not involved in the wooden league that played at my house stadium. I would like to involve in sports program on Maui for 40 years. 30 years was with the Maui Interclassic High School League games. At this time, I'd like to share all the awards that I received my lifetime with you. The first award was the U.S. Army Reservist of the Year, 1971, from the Company B 411 Engineer Battalion. It was presented at the U.S. Army Reserve Center, Wailuku. The second award, State Controller, State of Hawaii, DAGS, Safety Employee of the Year, 1973. This award was presented at UPW Blue Collar Labor Negotiation at the state capitol. I was the Maui member of the negotiating team. The third award, Service and Retirement, presented by DAGS, State of Hawaii, at Maui Beach Yard, 1990. The fourth award, the Distinguished Service Award, presented by the Maui AGA Versions Incorporated, in 1990 at the Maui Beach Hotel. The fifth service presented by Haida at their conference at Alamona Hotel in 2011. Haida stands for Hawaii Interscholastic Athletic Director Association. The sixth award service presented by Maui Bronco Baseball when in 2011 at Maui Stadium. The seventh award presented by Maui AGA Baseball League at the 75th Annual State Baseball Tournament at Maui Stadium in 2014. It was my last time with AGA Baseball with about 20 years. Maui All-Star won the championship for me. The eighth award, official wooden bat presented by Maui Major League player Kurt Suzuki in 2015 at Maui Stadium. The ninth award presented by the Maui Interscholastic League at the State High School Baseball Tournament at Maui Stadium in 2016. It was the last involvement with the Maui Interscholastic League. And after 30 years, Maui won the championship. The 10th award service awarded tonight. With all the awards I received, I cherish it in my heart and memory for the rest of my life. For a common and low-key person to receive this award is the greatest accomplishment and incredible for me. Three persons I like to recognize that guided me in the sports in the community. The first person is Kenji Kawaguchi, who is my idol. Kenji got me involved with him in the community and high school sports. He got me to help officiate basketball and softball in the CYO League, of which he was a director. Kenji got me involved in football official in Pop Warner and high school games. He also got me to keep score for the high school girls softball, high school baseball, and Maui AJA baseball. Without him, I would not be able to involve in the community service. The second person is Yasu Okinaka, director of Maui Pony and Gold Baseball. Mr. Okinaka spent about 40 years for Maui AG veterans in the Pony Baseball League. He got me to help keep score and officiate. He appointed me to be a president of the Cold League. Being the president, I got to go to the Cold World Series in 1985 at Lafayette, Indiana, with the Maui All-Star, because they won the Hawaii Championship. The trip was a very memorable one for me. Till today, I remember all the places I went with team and parents. He also got me involved in the Sochi Sakamoto swimming meet with Maui AJ veterans. As a timer, I volunteered for 15 years. The last person is Joe Balangitao, Maui Executive Director, who guided me in the high school baseball and football. I was a spotter for an announcer at the football high school game at Mount Memorial Stadium for 12 years. He went all out to help me through the years. At this time, I want to wish all of you happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas. Mahalo.
Our next and final award this evening is the Leadership Award. During World War II, the Nisei soldiers inspired America as the Army's gold standard and showed the world what it meant to go for broke. When the Nisei veterans returned from war, they continued to lead the Maui community with the strength of their character and the integrity of their actions. This award recognizes individuals who have led Maui forward with the leadership style of the Nisei. This year we have changed the name of the Leadership Award. From now on, the Leadership Award will be known formally as the Hiroshi Arizumi Leadership Award. This year the award is sponsored by HouseSmart. And at this time I'd like to ask Mr. Leonard Oka, Director Emeritus, to share a few remarks about this year's recipient.
I look good with glasses. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm noted for talking very, very long, so excuse me as I introduce this recipient. I know Gary Nakama will be timing me back there. But all I was thinking about it is that if I talk a long time, then the recipient just got to talk a little bit shorter. When asked to speak on the recipient of this award, I was a little hesitant. Joey, can I see with this glasses? Not that he wasn't very well deserving of this award, but because he's so deserving of this award that I didn't want to screw it up. Let me begin with a quote that I found. You've got to do your own growing, no matter how tall your father was. This individual was born to a man whom many respected and followed. He was a leader of men and someone who accomplished things at the highest level. This is hard to follow and live up to. But let me repeat that quote again. You've got to do your own growing, no matter how tall your father was. Our honoree definitely lived up to his own high standards and improved his own worth. Let me share some words that describe our honoree. And listen good, okay? Because you guys got to think. Dependable. He does not seek titles and awards. He's just a worker. He's not a talker. He's just a doer. He is a meticulous planner and will always provide notes as a report for everything he does. This is helpful in planning for future events. Achiever. He has his degree, a Bachelor of Economics, Master's of Business Administration. He was a successful contractor. In later part of his life, after age 50, he got a teaching degree and started teaching it. So he kept on achieving. Imagine, after age 50, I cannot even read the Maui news today without falling asleep. Volunteerism. Rotary Club of Maui, I think it was Maui or Kaului. Maui Sons and Daughters of the Nisei Veterans, and of course the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center. Next word is intelligent. He was able to move on to a second life. I said life, not wife. With diligent study skills. He was able to earn a degree in teaching and started a career after age 50. Devoted. One of his greatest and most admired attributes is his devotion to wife and family. He's a dedicated husband, father, and grandfather. If any of you can figure this out, it's like a puzzle. I use the words that spelled out the name of this year's recipient of the Hiroshi Arizumi Leadership Award. Dependable, achiever, volunteerism, intelligent, and devoted. Spells David. All right, you guys good. What is that? I thought by now you guys would be all sleepy, but you guys are right on. Thank you for listening to me. So, can I call up David Fukuda at this time? And can I also call up his wife, Julie, to come up also? Julie, please come up. You guys all know what I'm saying, you know? In front of a good man is a good woman. Okay? I changed it a little, right, Julie? A modern woman walks in the front. Okay? Paul is here also, you know? Because the award is sponsored by HouseSmart. So David and Julie Fukuda. But you guys gotta listen to me some more, okay? I only use those 5 descriptions because I have to spell out D-A-V-I-D, okay? Okay, and also I didn't want to make it too obvious by telling you guys too much in my introduction because it was a secret for David, yeah? And Judy was a good secret keeper. I don't know what else secret she's keeping from David, but... okay, but you know, I wanted to use words like generous, that begins with a G, so that doesn't fit in David. And energetic, that begins with an E, but that wouldn't fit in David either. So I'll keep those, I'll share those a little bit down. Okay, I just wanted to share a few more things about him, okay? I know Gary's still timing me, but every organization needs good volunteers. Not sure if all of you know, come on. Not sure if all of you know that David comes every Tuesday and Thursday morning to maintain the grounds at the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center. Through his efforts and inspiration, he even got Donald Ito and Mark Mizuno to regularly maintain the grounds. So you guys will see, if you guys get up that early, I don't get up that early, so I don't see them too often. But if you guys pass by, you guys are going to see them all working over there. Don't you agree that these 3 men have done a really great job at the center? Do you remember that David's first major project for the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center was the chairmanship of the fundraiser kickoff dinner at the Wailea Intercontinental? It was Intercontinental at that time, that long ago. Okay, we were able to fill the ballroom with almost 1,000 veterans, dignitaries, and other supporters. Did you know that it was mainly through David's diligence and over 19 Maui veterans of the 142nd were approved for and awarded with Francis Chevalier de la Legion d'Honneur. Said it pretty good, yeah. He even put together applications and qualified 2 additional World War II veterans for the awards. David, thank you for making 21 of Maui veterans and their families very proud. Another did you know? Did you know that David, along with the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center staff, has created all of those great exhibits that most of you have visited at the Education Center? His history background as a teacher. What's history? Huh? No. I never get a chance to fine-tune these things because they just came back from a trip and I wanted to ask Judy to verify these things, but so, excuse. His history background as a teacher came through in the planning and development of most, if not all, of the exhibits at the center. Thousands of Maui students and residents have gained a greater appreciation for the accomplishments of our Nisei veterans during war and back home in our communities. I mentioned the G word, generous. Through his and Judy's own contributions and those of their children, who they have taught so well to be upstanding individuals in their own right, the Fukuda family has donated over $100,000 towards the building of the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center. I could say so much more about David, but I will end thanking both David and Judy for all they have done for our Nisei Veterans community. Again, I would like to repeat the opening quote. You got to do your own growing up, no matter how tall your father was. Don't you all agree that, like his dad, David has also proven himself as a great leader? Thanks to his leadership, our generation, with their help, our generation, the legacy will continue. Thank you, David. Now you only get 30 seconds now because I used up all your time.
Thank you, Leonard. It's really nice to have this award named after Hiroshi Aruzumi. Hiroshi and I have taken many drives down the road when he was unable to drive. I'd take him to the board meetings, and we'd talk about things, and it was like a second father. He thought just like my father in terms of wanting to do something for the veterans, particularly those that were left behind in Europe. And I know my dad felt very strongly about that. For me, the awards are pretty hard to come by. I remember way back when I was nominated for the Buster Shim Award, the Chamber of Commerce Volunteer Award, and down the road I asked, who else is being nominated? Hiroshi Aruzumi. Didn't get a chance for that. Then I get a call from Clara Capillo from Mayor's office. Said, Elmer wants you to put your name in for the office committee on ethics. And so I was smart, I asked right away, who else is going to be on this nominations? And he said, oh, Father Orsini. I was then a roofing contractor. But this is a real nice award. I thank Leonard and Hiroshi for putting together this fantastic center, which gave Donald, Mark, and myself a job. And the going after history. Each one of you has to try that. It'll take you down that story that Julie was talking about, finding stories and finding heroes in our communities, stories that we can pass on to our kids. And I think that's really an important part of our lives. Lastly, 50 years with her. Put a lot, and every time I get to this point of getting too involved, she manages me to get me back in line, and that's where we're going into our next phase in life, and really enjoyed these last 10 years, and always keep it close to our hearts. Thank you very much.
I think those are tough acts to follow.
Yes.
Maybe we should just give away a lot of stuff.
Now's the time.
All right, congratulations again to all of our Hero Award winners. It gives us something to aspire to. All right, so we are going to call upon our Chrysanthemum Court to help us pull the number for the first flyaway, for the flyaway package, the 100,000 miles on Hawaiian Airlines, the donated by Hawaiian Airlines and Paul Mizoguchi, the $250 cash, and the 2 tickets to the Go for Broke premiere sometime in 2018. So let's see, do we have our Chrysanthemum Court? Girls and boys, everybody. Yes. And just as a reminder, as everyone is, as they are coming up to the stage, because we have the numbers up here, Julie Checkoway will be doing a book signing at Barnes & Noble tomorrow in Lahaina at 2 o'clock. So if you didn't bring your book tonight or you want a little bit more one-on-one time with her tomorrow, please come to Barnes & Noble at 2 p.m. They're not closing, which is great, so Julie won't be the last author to sign books there, but she will be probably the last for this year, so please come out and support her. And ladies, the box is up here. We're going to let you open it. Let's have another round of applause for these very committed young ladies and young gentlemen.
Should they read the number?
We're going to let you actually read the numbers, so speak down to each. One. Just start with one, and you're going to do a total of 2. But 1 is for the very first package, so I don't want to go
Number 199. 199.
The next prize is for the Tahitian Pro earrings.
Yeah.
All right, so the winner, 1, 2, 7, 127. Congratulations. 127. Anybody? Tahitian Pearl earrings now.
Check your flag. There's a...
If you would, just wave it up in the air. All right. Going once. Going twice. Next number. All right.
He's a natural, right? He's a natural.
The winner, number 70. Number 70. Anybody? All right. We'll give it a little time. Give it a little time. Anyone got 70? All right.
They just want to hear you talk more.
I can talk all night. Next number. 2, 1, 0. 210. 210. Anybody? Yay! Congratulations. Right there.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I think that maybe this is our MC group next year.
That's right. That young man is going to be the co-MC next year.
All right, thank you very much. You did a wonderful job, and I'm sure the people that you picked love you very much. All right, well, it has been an extreme privilege to stand here at the podium this evening, and with you, Brian, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Deidre. We want to thank all of our sponsors, guests, volunteers, everyone who made tonight possible.
And again, another thank you and big round of applause for our keynote speaker, Julie Checkoway. And all of our Hero Award winners.
Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming this evening. We hope to see you tomorrow at Barnes & Noble in Lahaina at 2 p.m. for the book signing with Julie Checkoway. Have a safe drive home. Good night. Take care.